Welcome you back to the Patrick Netherton Show, 1130 The Tiger. He's Rodgers. I'm Patrick. We're pleased to welcome in one of our favorites, a man who had a lot of useful information on the matchup between the New Orleans Saints and the Green Bay Packers. From the New Orleans Times-Picayune, he is Jeff Duncan. Jeff, what is up, my friend?
Oh, not much. Just glad to be back in my home in New Orleans. I think that this will be the third night in the last 2.5 weeks that I've slept in my own bed, so I'm excited about that.
How are things down there, by the way? Power and everything getting restored? How's everyone doing?
Yeah, I've got power and internet. Thankful for that. Very grateful. And we're just, we're getting a ton of rain from this new storm system that's come in along the coast. So we didn't need that, but it could be worse, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Jeff, this is, I guess, when we just had breaking news on the Saints that Michael Thomas is apparently the guy on IR that's got COVID. They've put him on the COVID list, which doesn't really matter since he's not coming back for 6 weeks. Is this, for as well as game one went, this has to be the most insane 2 days after a big win like that with what the Saints are dealing with COVID and injuries.
Yeah, I think that they've got a handle on it. They've been on this since early Monday morning, and the league's protocols are just so good. I think they can pretty much isolate everyone involved, and the coaches should be able to, still put together a game plan in isolation and using Zoom meetings. I really don't think it's going to have a dramatic impact on this game because everyone on the Saints team, including the coaches, has been vaccinated, and that certainly cuts into the time that they have to be away from the team. I think it's a 5-day window. They have to test negative twice before rejoining the team, but that would be certainly within the window to get everybody on the field for the game. And right now only one player, and if it is just Michael Thomas, then that really, I think, is the best news of all this, because the concern, of course, is if the players were infected by the coaches, and so far that hasn't been the case.
Well, the bad news is you've got frontline starters who are dealing with injuries now, with Davenport with the pec injury. You got Eric McCoy, who had the lower leg injury. Marshawn Lattimore was having surgery today on his thumb. It's one thing to have a rash of injuries, but when it comes to guys at pretty critical positions, and especially guys who've been playing really well, even in week one, but through the preseason as well, that's the kind of stuff that I think concerns you a little bit, especially when you have to go back out on the road again.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's part of the league. Everyone in the league deals with injuries. The Saints played that game on Sunday with a lot of these guys we're talking about, and still were able to dominate a Packers team in that game. I think losing Lattimore certainly could have an impact. We don't know for sure if he's going to miss a game because of this, but they do get Bradley Roby on the roster this week, so certainly that helps in that position group. And Davenport was having a dominant preseason, and he clearly was a guy that I think was ready to have a breakout season. But having said that, they have great depth at defensive end, and they should be able to get Peyton Turner, the rookie from Houston, who was not in the game against Green Bay. They should be able to get him active, if not this week, certainly next week. So I think they're going to be okay. I don't think these injuries are going to be debilitating to them in any way. This team, by having these injuries early in the week and knowing what you're dealing with, this coaching staff has proven they can game plan around those kind of things.
Well, you mentioned the defensive end depth, and you'll have to help me pronounce his name, Jeff, but that one defensive end came in and really shined, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name. I'll let you do it. But he came in, and when Davenport went down and was really, really effective, created a lot of havoc in the backfield.
Yeah, and he's a guy that fits the Saints prototype. They liked him coming out of college, and he ended up getting drafted by the Chiefs, and Jeff Ireland stuck with him as they are prone to do. It's Tano Passanio.
There you go.
he's exactly what the Saints want in a defensive lineman, especially end. They've got these 6'4" to 6'6" trees out there. They're just massive. And they set the edge, and he's able to swing inside and play a little defensive tackle as well, which they need right now with the numbers that they're down there, especially with David Onyemata being suspended. This defense, I'm telling you, Patrick, the best I've seen them have in the Sean Payton era.
Mm-hmm.
They have a chance to be dominant. They certainly were on Sunday against a very good team, and I think it's now the strength of the team. And I don't see that changing much, even with the injuries we're talking about.
Sean Payton ultimately was it his decision ultimately to play in Jacksonville, or is that something that comes from the higher ups? Who ultimately made that call?
Well, I think it was collective. I'm sure between him and Mickey Loomis, and I'm sure Gail Benson had to sign off on it as well. But it was as everything with the Saints, it's always a collaborative choice.
Now, you of course brought light to the fact that Aaron Rodgers has struggled in the state of Florida throughout his career, which he of course referred to as useless information. But the thing that I kept thinking about, Jeff, and you can you can agree with me or not, Jacksonville climate-wise is probably as close to New Orleans as you can get, and if you're gonna play. You're going to have a northern team come down. You want to play them in a hot, humid, soupy environment because your guys have been practicing in it all year long and all off season. They have not. I felt like that was part of the decision-making process.
No, there's no question about it. I mean, Sean Payton said after the game on Sunday, the way they felt about it, the hotter the better for their chances in that game, and he wasn't being disrespectful to anybody. I mean, it's just common sense, as he noted. If the Saints have to play up in Chicago or Green Bay in late December in a January playoff game, it's going to be an advantage to the Bears and Packers. That's just common sense. So the Saints were strategic about picking that Jacksonville location, and I think it played out just exactly the way they wanted it. There ended up being a lot more Packers fans than Saints fans there, but I think that would have been the case just about anywhere in the country they would have gone to.
Yeah, not to mention the fact that most of the folks in New Orleans really aren't up for traveling right now. I mean, they are, you're still picking up the pieces from a devastating hurricane that came through. It's not like they have a 30,000 people that are just willing to leave on a moment's notice and go somewhere to go watch the Saints. It was never going to be a home crowd for you.
No, and it really didn't have any impact because the Saints were just so dominant, so early in the game. They kind of took the crowd out of it, and I wrote after the game, I think they could have played that game anywhere, and the Saints were going to dominate. They just had a great game plan. They played very well, and a lot of things went their way. They got a lot of good calls. I think those 50-50 calls went their way. It was one of those days, and it's not going to be that easy next week or the week after. But certainly it was a great way to start the season.
Yeah, that roughing the passer call that overturned the Jameis interception was as bad a pass interference call as you'll ever get. It really was. But, that's like you said, everything kind of went your way. I am curious, though, do you get an opportunity if you wanted to? I don't know how the post-game media works for you guys, but if you wanted to after the game, could you go into Aaron Rodgers' post-game press conference, or was it remote Zoom kind of thing to at least just jump in and just ask him about some useful information?
Sure. No, I definitely could have gone in there. I mean, we were in the Saints media interview room and certainly got a number of players in there, but we're in a press conference setting.
Right.
I don't think I was going to get one-on-one with anybody, but it certainly would have been doable, but I didn't feel the need to do that.
Nah.
The story was in the Saints locker room.
No, you're too high class for that, my friend. I might have done it if it was me. I might have just gone by and yelled useless information as I walked by the press conference. But that's just me. Talking to Jeff Duncan from the New Orleans Times-Picayune. All right, so you mentioned this, you brought this up about Sean Payton's winning percentage when he doesn't have his regular starter. Obviously, Drew Brees has been the only guy he's had as a regular starter. Is this in some way Peyton's opportunity to, much like Brady has done with Belichick, kind of distance himself from, okay, my success, surely a lot of it was because of Drew Brees, but without Drew, I'm still a really good offensive coach?
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt about it. He'll never admit that publicly.
Sure.
But there's just no doubt. I mean, there's a competitor in him, and certainly there's human nature involved and ego involved. And for better or worse, for 15 years, he's been aligned with one of the great quarterbacks in NFL history. And I think he's looking forward. As a matter of fact, I know he's looking forward to this challenge of leading the team with another quarterback and showing people that they can still get it done with a new quarterback. And I don't think it's disrespectful in any way to Drew Brees. I think it's just him wanting to continue on at a very high level and being successful when a lot of people probably are counting him out. And I think that's what we learned on Sunday more than anything else, is that the Saints are going to continue to be competitive and relevant without Drew Brees. And I think there was some questions going into Sunday about that.
How many times, Jeff, have you seen in the last, 15 years now, the Saints max protect and try to take a shot down the field? It happens at least once or twice every single game. Keep the tight end in, keep the back in, hard play action fake. Quarterback, obviously Drew Brees most of the time, turns around and he's looking for a shot down the field, and he hits it. Brandon Cooks has done it, Robert Meacham has done it, like all kind of guys. That last touchdown, though, felt to me like a little bit of a statement from Sean Payton about where this team is and what he can do again, having a quarterback that can really launch it downfield.
Well, it's going to have to be a part of their offense because teams are going to try to shut down their running game. That certainly worked for them against Green Bay, and the play-action passing game, which we've seen a lot of throughout the preseason. It seems like it's going to be a staple of this offense, playing off of their running game, and that set up late in the game. That's what's going to happen. If they're successful running, it's going to open up some things downfield. And what I thought was interesting more than that, though, Patrick, was that was the only big play the Saints had in the game.
Yeah.
I mean, they had one 50-yard play, and then I think the longest gain after that was 17 yards. So, I don't think this team's going to become a vertical passing team. I don't think that's what their bread and butter is going to be. But having that element to your offense is certainly something we haven't seen the last few years.
Have we heard anything about potential Deontay Harris obviously had the DUI. Marshawn Lattimore had the gun thing. Have we heard anything about potential suspensions for either of those guys?
No, I mean, the way the league operates is until it's adjudicated in the courts, they don't really weigh in until then. That's why we haven't seen anything happen with Deshaun Watson over in Houston. So I don't think we're going to hear anything for a while. I would imagine the quicker decision will be on Deontay Harris, just because I think that's a much simpler case than what we saw with Marshawn Lattimore. That might be another year before they rule on that. But rest assured, there will be discipline involved when those cases come around. It's just a matter of when it happens, not if it's going to happen.
Is this a case now? And look, I don't want to say that losing McCoy and Davenport and Marshawn Lattimore means your season's done. Certainly not. But does this become a little bit more of a case of, hey, let's tread water a little bit until the bye? Because then you get all of these guys back you get Michael Thomas back, you get Onyemata back. Everyone kind of gets to come back right after that. Does it feel like that, or does it feel like, hey, they're going 6-0?
Oh, yeah, I would not go that far. I mean, I think week to week in this league, you never know what's going to happen. I think the Saints, what we saw on Sunday was the potential of this team, that this team still has the potential to be one of the elite teams in the league. But we saw a year ago, Patrick. I mean, they beat Tampa Bay in the opener. Tom Brady, a big emotional win in the opening game, and then the next week they lost to the Las Vegas Raiders in a very ugly performance.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the energy the Saints brought, the focus they had, being over in Dallas is a bit of a galvanizing effect. I think it really all paid off in that game on Sunday. Now, can they maintain it? Can they keep that focus and that level of execution, that standard that they played with, where that they were motivated? They were 4-point underdogs in that game. They're very rarely underdogs. I think I had the stat after the game, and they're now 9-2 the last 3 years. as underdogs, and that's not against the spread. They've won the game
right.
9 out of 11 times as underdogs. That's an incredible number. So it just shows you Sean Payton is excellent in those situations. Now, can they carry it over? I think that's the question, because we've seen this team the last few years have some lapses and lose some games they shouldn't when they get overconfident. And I think that's a definite potential pitfall this weekend in Carolina.
October 3rd, do you feel like they're back in the Dome?
That's the plan. I don't think anybody expects them to play that game anywhere other than the Superdome. And I think if that team, if they can come back 2-1 at worst, potentially 3-0, but 2-1, I think would be a great start coming here to play the Giants, a team that they should be able to handle. This front end schedule looks definitely very user friendly, and certainly if they can stay away from the injuries, I mean, this team has a chance to get off to a great start. Yeah,
then you get at Seattle and Tampa back to back after the bye. That's not a lot of fun. Okay, last thing, Jeff. Anything that you saw that did concern you? Because it's easy to look at 38-3 and just say, okay, everything went right. Anything that you saw that does concern you moving forward?
No, I didn't see any of that. It was almost impossible to find a negative in that performance. I mean, the defense was lights out. And I mean, I think the only concern you have is just the injury attrition and it adding up over time. Certainly we saw Jair Alexander, one of the best corners in the league, pretty much take Marquez Callaway out of the game. And the Saints were able to have a number of other players step up and scheme up some open receivers. And that was a lot of it set up by the strength of the running game. But you saw that Callaway is as good a preseason as he's had. When he gets up against a lockdown corner like that, he's still got some work to do to try and get separation and get open.
Hey, last thing, Jeff, just leave Jameis alone, all right? The poor guy, he has to call you out in media things, talking about how you just need to stay away from him, leave him alone. Just leave him alone this time, Jeff. Come on.
Well, he deserved that, Patrick. I mean, did you see that video?
Yeah, of course I did.
Him going through the gauntlet.
Yeah.
He deserved it. And I'm pretty sure that got played later that night in the team meeting. But that was a fun exchange. It just shows you how likable and gregarious and infectious the personality Jameis Winston has. And so far, he's doing everything right. And, he certainly knows he's got an opportunity to resurrect his career and got off to a great start in doing that on Sunday.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Just, hey, leave me alone, Jeff. Leave me alone, Jeff. That's all. Oh, by the way, I'm getting one of those shirts, just so you know. I've got one ordered.
Yeah, I bet. I bet. Luke Johnson started a little cottage industry there. I told him I need some name, image, and likeness residuals from that.
Absolutely. Well, your name's on it, so you definitely need to get a little bit of cash off of that. Jeff, you're the best. Thank you so much for your time, man. I do appreciate it, and good luck this weekend on the road. Y'all have some fun, and hopefully come back with another win.
I appreciate it, Patrick. We'll talk to you soon, buddy. Take care.
Jeff Duncan from the New Orleans Times-Picayune.